Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles pregame show, the game that we have been waiting for since the schedule was unveiled in the spring. Wulf, Jamie Lynch here in Philadelphia. We'll hear from Zach Berman, who is live at Arrowhead Stadium in about 10 minutes or so. But Jamie, as an Eagles fan, how are you feeling? Do you feel like there is a chance to exact a bit of a measure of revenge in this game, or is it more like just bringing up bad memories?
I don't think there's any revenge involved with this game because the Chiefs won the biggest game of them all.
Game's over.
So even if you win tonight, it's not like I'm going to walk away feeling like, we got our revenge. What I think it is, probably two of the 3 or 4 best teams in the NFL facing off again. It's kind of rare that you get the immediate following year Super Bowl rematch. So far, it has not been favorable to the losing team of said Super Bowl. In the matchup, it's happened 8 times to my knowledge, and the losing team of that Super Bowl is 2-6 in those games.
Oh, good nugget there.
Yeah, a little fun fact for you.
Look at you crunching the numbers before the show.
I don't think there's any revenge sweetness, but there is a sweetness of beating Patrick Mahomes and one of the best teams in the league anytime you can get it.
It's about this team, right? And
sure.
I think what you said is right. I mean, it is still Jalen Hurts going up against one of the other best quarterbacks in the league and one of the best defenses in the league. Yeah. It is a chance for this Sean Desai defense to prove that once again it can do something a little bit different against a good quarterback, unlike his predecessor. And it's the Kelce brothers once again battling head to head.
And Travis, in his Taylor Swift Wall Street Journal article today, who cares about Taylor Swift, right? But the interesting thing he said was that he's probably closer to retirement than most people know. So this is, there's a good chance this is the last time they play each other as professionals because of Jason's retirement. But now Travis is also throwing.
I mean, overwhelmingly likely that this is the last
unless
time.
they meet in the Super Bowl again. Right. And now Travis is also mulling over retirement too. So that's pretty interesting from their angle. And again, it's 2 of the best teams in the league. So what's not to be excited about?
And we've got a lot to talk about both sides of this matchup. But I got to say, the last time I saw you, I'm tuning into the Aaron Live show. You're dressed up. You got a blazer and a tie. You think you know a guy.
I was becoming the Godfather yesterday. I had a baptism. I'm pulling up to the church, and all the NOLA stuff's breaking. And I know we're gonna have to do an emergency podcast. So I'm like on the altar, like sneaking in some Slack messages and text messages. My wife's yelling at me,
just like Don Vito would.
Of course, you got to take care of business.
Yeah.
So I got back to my the baptism post party, and I was like, hey, I gotta peace out for like 30 minutes. So I went into my cousin's office and knocked it out.
But back to
my comfort zone. Yeah. I am not comfortable in a shirt and tie ever.
Okay.
I hate it.
I thought you looked good.
Well, I had to go to a shirt and tie high school.
Okay.
So I think I just
too many hours on task.
Yeah. I'm just over it.
Okay. Well, we look forward to your best bets later in the show because those have been
feeling the pressure
all season. Yeah, but I mean, you felt the pressure before. Like you're printing money with those bad boys. Now we're going to talk to Zach in a couple minutes, and I think one of the big things we need to hear from him is the state of the field because it was a relatively mild forecast a couple hours ago, but it has apparently been coming down pretty hard at the stadium. Now, that may dissipate a little bit, but as you said before the game, I mean, I feel like, TMZ is going to have footage of George Toma doing a rain dance somewhere because we might have another slippery field.
Yeah, that son of a bitch. He really chapped my ass last February with that. And if you want to call me a conspiracy theorist, sure. But I think the Chiefs got inside information as to what the proper cleat wear would be.
Interesting.
Yeah, you spend $850,000 on that field, and you overwater it before the game. His family members have season tickets, courtesy of the Chiefs. He's the Chiefs guy. That son of a bitch is up to something tonight. Somebody better keep an eye on you, Toma.
What are they going to do? Put a 90-year-old man in jail? I mean,
Maybe. Sports prison. Well, he belongs in it. Throw that guy away.
all right. Well, as you said, the schedule makers of this game, right? This was the marquee game they put in when they made the schedule. You've got the Super Bowl rematch. They made sure that both of these teams would be sort of healthy. They're both coming off the bye. You've got Andy Reid, who's got this unbelievable record after the bye. Let's talk, I guess, first about the Eagles having the ball against this Chiefs defense, which has been so much better and has been the better of their two units and arguably the best unit entering this game. Now, my general position is that good offense beats great defense, and the Eagles have a borderline great offense. Now they're going to be without Dallas Goedert. So do you think that means just sort of funnel everything to DeVonta Smith and A.J. Brown? Do you think it means Julio Jones is going to be a factor here? Is DeAndre Swift a factor in the passing game? Or is it lean even more into the running game and hopefully Jalen Hurts is a little bit healthier and can be a factor there as well?
I think it's two-part there because what you're saying is right. The conditions, I think, lend to a running game. And then I think Nick Sirianni, one of the things I got to give him credit for is he seems to learn from past mistakes. And he does a pretty good job of not repeating a ton. It's not like the same mistakes that pop up over and over again. I think he does a pretty good job from learning from them. And I think he learned that you have to limit Patrick Mahomes' ability to be on the field. Like, that is one of the keys to beating him. If he gets the ball late, he's just one of those guys, he's going to pull some magic out of his hat. And the Chiefs maybe not steamrolling teams like they have in the past, but they're still finding a way to win games. So I think, yes, you protect the football in maybe some sloppy conditions, and also at the same time, try to minimize the amount of times Patrick Mahomes touches the ball. So I think DeAndre Swift is going to be a big part of tonight.
I sort of think so too. Now you've got Cam Jurgens coming back to play right guard in this game. He's returning from injured reserve. He will start at right guard. The Eagles have been much better running the ball with Jurgens in the lineup, but I think there's a little bit more to it than it being just as simple as Jurgens. But you consider that Goddard is out.
Sure.
That hurts the running game a
He's
little
really
bit.
Good blocker,
He is an unbelievable blocker for a tight end. Maybe that means a little bit more 12 personnel. Not that Grant Calcaterra is like the world's biggest road grading tight end, but it gives you a bit of an advantage up front. And what's so interesting about these teams is, Andy Reid and the Eagles organization philosophically agree about like roster building, right? And so
trenches
in a league where the Eagles have the advantage at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball almost every week, they probably still do in this game, but it's much closer than you might expect. The Chiefs' offensive line, their interior three is really, really good. The tackles are okay. And then, Chris Jones is arguably the best defensive lineman in this game. So the Eagles might like to lean on the Chiefs, but it's gonna require them playing better than they have the last few weeks.
Yeah, Steve Spagnuolo actually has some players, outside of the trenches, which is, probably helps his ability to disguise things. He's that Jim Johnson disciple where he wants to confuse you with looks you're getting and then dive into something else. So, with him having some players finally, you wonder, does DeAndre Swift get involved in the passing game a little bit more now that Dallas Goedert's not out? We haven't seen a ton of the screen and bubble game from the Eagles like we're kind of accustomed to over time. So maybe that takes the place of Goedert. But, with A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith, they're pretty unstoppable. At least one of them is. And the other one's pretty damn good at worst. So you're right. Like, they could get the bounty of targets from Hurts tonight.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, why stop it?
Well, exactly. I don't know who I think is going to be third on the team in targets until Goedert returns. Now, there is good news on the Goedert front, which we haven't talked about. They did not put him on injured reserve, which means they think there's a good chance he'll be back within 4 games. And it sounds like maybe they're even hoping he could be back within 3 games, which would be that Niners game. And certainly that would be fun. But with him gone, like, is it Julio Jones? Is it Zacchaeus? Is it Swift? Is it Stoll?
If I had to put money on something, I would say Swift.
I think I probably agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't noticed Julio a ton, like, jumping open or popping out. Like, he may just have no legs left, which is very possible. Zacchaeus, you saw a couple times. They tried to give him some opportunities, but in very limited doses.
Yes.
So, like, if he doesn't take advantage of one.
He never gets targeted. Of all the wide receivers in the league who have run as many routes as he is targeted the least often.
Yeah, so I think it's logical to bet. Like, if you had to put DraftKings lines on them, I would say, Swift being the third leading receiver is minus 155, something like that. I think he would be the favorite in the clubhouse.
Yeah, I think I probably agree with that.
Yeah.
Now, other side of the ball, Chiefs offense has not been that great this
No,
season. It has
human.
been good, but not great. Travis Kelce is what everything funnels through in their passing game. Their wide receivers are not as good as they were even last year, and you sort of wonder how that affects the Eagles' game plan tonight, because their two best players in the secondary are Darius Slay and James Bradbury. You want to make sure that they're involved in helping to stop the Chiefs' best weapon.
Yeah, sure. And Bradbury, I think Slay personally, from my dumb eye watching the games, I think he's having a better season than maybe some people are saying.
Okay.
I think Bradbury is showing that little bit of a decline. So yeah, it'll be interesting. And Bradley Roby, I'm excited to hear from Zach about. I'm sure he's active tonight. So it looks like this is the first time you're going to have your secondary mostly at full health all season, which is kind of wild to think about.
As close as they've had.
As close as they had,
exactly.
yeah. So, no excuses tonight. Sean Desai kind of one foot in the pressure cooker a little bit tonight.
I think he's very much in focus tonight.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. The inactives, just to run through them, Tanner McKee is the third quarterback. Rashad Penny, he had those 2 carries. What a great 2 carries those were. He's back inactive. Moro Ojimo is down. Sua Opeta is down. Dallas Goedert, as we said, and Derek Barnett out with a personal issue. Ben Van Sumeren, the practice squad linebacker, promoted to play in this game. Do we have Zach? All right. Well, on June 11th, 1997, Michael Jordan, Game 5 of the NBA Finals against the Utah Jazz. The guy is vomiting all night long. It's coming out both ends. It's terrible. The flu game, 38 points, 5 assists in a huge victory that will go down in lore forever. And tonight, we have Zach Berman, who is fighting through it as well. Zach, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be on the show with you guys. And I wouldn't go that far. I was thinking more like A.J. Brown against the Packers last year, Jalen Hurts against the Bucks this year. But if you want to compare it to the Jordan flu game, I'll be happy to take it. But you know what? If Jalen could do it and AJ could do it, the least I could do, the least I could do is be up here reporting for our loyal PHLY audience.
Well, I mean, I think the post-game story will tell the story whether this is a true flu game or not.
Okay. I'm doing this hit differently than the previous 8 we've done this season, because I'm doing it at my seat. I couldn't get a table back there, so I actually got Elliot Shore-Parks from WIP next to me, and there's Tim McManus and Jeff McClain and Jimmy Kemsky. So I'm hoping some of what they know about the team rubs off on me, but not too close, because I don't want to.
Well, Zach, before we get into the questions, then I do have to ask. Doing it in front of the other beat reporters, this is a little bit more of a performance. Do you feel differently in your head? Do you feel a little bit more pressure to perform in front of them as opposed to being in a corner of the back of the press box?
So I don't feel pressure performing. What I feel is like, and you know me well, Bo, and you're starting to know me well, Jamie. Like I never want to be in position. Okay, one of my I hate being in position on people, so I'm trying to keep my voice like at an appropriate level. I'm trying not to. I tried to structure my shot so you didn't see anyone else in here. I feel like I'm being in position. I even asked the other guys here. I was like, "Do you mind if I do my hit here?" And they're like, "No, why are you asking?" And I said, I mean, but yeah, so this is something new for me.
Okay, well, we will keep you as long as we possibly can to make sure that it needles them. Tell us about the weather, Zach, because we hear it's been raining. Is it still coming down? Do you expect it to continue coming down? Are people slipping all over the field again? What's going on?
Well, yeah. So it was like a slight drizzle, really, since I got in last night throughout the day today, and I was fortunate to get to the stadium on the earliest side, because when I was walking from the drop-off spot to the entrance, it was not really coming down. If I had come an hour later, I would have been soaked. I would have needed new socks because it is pouring, and there has not been a tarp on the field, by the way. So the field is as wet as you would imagine for. Like, I'm looking in front of me. This is heavy rain, and it's not just like straight rain. It's windy rain, right? So it's in front of me, right to left. So you're curious how that affects field goals. I'm actually watching Jake Elliott here. I'll do this in real time. Jake Elliott is attempting a 45-yard field goal, and it is good. Good. So
What a
Jake
call.
Elliott's unaffected right now, by the way. Yes.
Good call, Merrill.
It's
It's like,
good. Yes.
Merrill's job is safe for another year.
Well, no, I wasn't doing my play-by-play. If I was doing my play-by-play and I was in a if I was in a booth and not sitting next to Elliott, I would be a little more expressive. I'm trying to respect the fact that he's working up his best tape right here.
Yeah. So, Zach, one of the storylines of this game, as it is with every Chiefs, is obviously Travis Kelce. Now, Kevin Byard knows him well from their time in Tennessee together, and he's historically done very well versus him in his career. Held him to only 37 yards on 8 targets as the closest defender to him on the field, courtesy of Next Gen Stats there. Do you think that is something on Sean Desai's mind? Is Kevin Byard the same player he was over the years of battle the two had? How do you think that comes into effect tonight?
Yes, I'm going to borrow a Sirianniism, both and, right? Meaning that, yeah, you're going to see Byard on Kelce, but you're not going to only see Byard on Kelce. I think they're going to mix and match there. So they'll have a handful of different packages. And by the way, that's kind of been the Sean Desai staple throughout the season is different personnel groupings, different ways of attacking receivers, of attacking tight ends, attacking quarterbacks. Now that said, I think Byard's experience with him, I think Byard's size obviously will both be beneficial. And you got to think, we've talked about moving James Bradbury inside, right? They didn't love Bradbury. Excuse me, they didn't love Bradbury inside. So if you do that, you're weaker on the outside, unless you think like Eli Ricks can hold that spot down, right? They don't really have that set number 3 cornerback. It looked like it was going to be Josh Jobe earlier in the year. Josh Jobe's playing time came back to earth, right? So I do think you'll see a lot of Byard on Kelce is the short answer to your question.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask that question, my personal opinion is I would rather have James Bradbury on Travis Kelce and Eli Ricks on Rashee Rice or Sky Moore than having James Bradbury on that wide receiver and Bradley Roby or Kevin Byard on Travis Kelce. I would rather have that. Having watched warm-up, Zach, are we expecting Kevin Byard to be like the man at nickel, or are we expecting a continued rotation of guys like we've seen from Desai the past several games?
I mean, Bradley Roby. Yeah, we're expecting Bradley Roby to be the man at nickel. He was first up in the slot, and I think he's going to be the slot corner. That's why he's on the roster. And you don't carry a player like him unless you have plans to play him quite a bit. So they have 4 30-plus-year-old D-backs. Excuse me, and Reid Blankenship. So they have an experienced group. But it is an older group for sure.
Zach, Cam Jurgens returning back to the lineup tonight. Do you think I don't speak too hardly about it, but the decline in the run game since his injury is related to him or I should say lack of him, or more a philosophical play calling type of thing? I.e., do you expect the running game to pick back up again tonight?
First off, Cam Jurgens is pumped up for this game, not just because he's returning. This is the closest he'll play to his hometown of any point in his NFL career. He's from southern Nebraska. I think it's Beatrice, Nebraska. I could be wrong. But
it's good Nebraska knowledge.
He has a lot of family and friends coming down here for this game. He said, when I talked to him about it the other day, he said the problem is they're all Chiefs fans, so they're all going to be wearing like red. And he said he can't meet up with them after the game if they're wearing red. So I'm curious what the
well, it could be Nebraska. What about Nebraska?
I know a lot
red?
of the speculation. That's true, but I know a lot of the speculation has been like what the Swift family might be wearing. Excuse me. I'm more curious what the Jurgens contingent is wearing at this game. So, anyways, yeah, I think Cam Jurgens' return to the lineup is huge. They were more effective when he was running the ball. Now, it's again, it's a both and, right? Jalen Hurts was healthier when he was in the lineup too. So when you have that +1 in the running game, that's certainly advantageous. But I do think that having Cam Jurgens back and having your full offensive line, having Jalen healthier, will propel that running game, especially because when you look at this Chiefs defense, they're more vulnerable against the run than they are against the pass.
I like the lot of comments that just being flooded the chat, Zach, with compliments of my sweater. I just wanted you to know that. My question is about Jalen Hurts
over there, huh?
My question is about Jalen Hurts. You know, we've been paying attention all week. You wrote about it. You know, he had this little wry smile this week when he was asked about the state of his knee. He's not practicing in the brace. He's very excited about that. The expectation would be that maybe he's going to be a little bit more willing to run the ball, look a little bit more spry when he does so. But now you've got this element of the weather. You know, it's not like the Eagles are going to change their game plan entirely. But, like, are you a little bit worried about this scenario now where, like, Jalen Hurts is coming in having to play on a wet field?
It's a fair question. And actually, Nick Sirianni was asked earlier this week about preparing for the weather. And they did some things in practice, such as spraying the punt returner when he was catching, and having wet footballs for them to play with.
I'm sorry, having what?
I think you coughed, Zach.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Wait, hold on, Zach. You cut for a second. Could you repeat wet balls, please?
Wet footballs.
Okay, thank you.
That they were practicing with during the session on Friday. Okay. Well, come on. We're mature people. Get your head out of the gutter.
What are you talking about?
I'm rubbing off. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
I'm just asking a journalistic question. I'm asking you to repeat yourself. Okay.
We caught a lag there.
Well, my journalist said, okay. Well, so for the record, they had wet footballs that they used in practice to prepare for the elements at Arrowhead Stadium tonight. Now, to your question, though, they couldn't account for the turf, right? Because it was not raining in Philly, and they obviously didn't, as far as I know, they didn't put the sprinklers on the turf to prepare for wet turf. So that's I don't know if it's going to be a factor for Jalen so much. I imagine it could be more of a factor. I know you're going to laugh when I say this, but for the pass rushers, right? Because that was the case in the Super Bowl last year. And that was the lament of a lot of Eagles fans was that slick field. And, it did stand out to me that they didn't have a tarp down because I've covered a lot of games when it's raining this hard before the game and they have a tarp on the field. But there was no tarp on this field. So, this is going to be wet. It's not like it's warm out either, right? So it's not going to, excuse me, this is going to be wet throughout the night.
So, Zach, with the wet field and George Toma, the sod father, in charge here, in your professional opinion, will the FBI be investigating him for federal war crimes against the Philadelphia Eagles if they come up small again tonight?
Federal war crimes, I like that.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate that being the case. Although I've never covered an FBI investigation, so I could check that one off the list if it comes up.
All right, Zach.
I've covered a lot of other things, but not an FBI investigation.
Okay.
Last question, Zach. You had
murders, deaths. Yeah.
Okay, go on. What else makes you laugh besides murders and deaths and sex crimes? Beloved fan of comedy, Zach Berman. Nothing gets him more than the grisliest incidents of the past decade plus of Eagles fan. And maybe Kenny Chesney concerts is something that comes to mind.
You're a journalist. You gotta, you gotta go where the story is, right? And so the stories have sometimes been in difficult places.
All right, Zach. Last thing. I have said we reserve the right to change your prediction on the kickoff show after the game on Friday. We have new information. The field is going to be different. The elements are different. Have you changed your prediction of a Kansas City Chiefs close victory?
No, I have not, because it's Patrick Mahomes and Sandy Reid coming off a bye. Excuse me. They're home. They're battle tested. It's a raw look. I mean, the Eagles have played in a lot of road games this year, where, excuse me, I'm sorry, where it's like a quasi home game. That's not the case here. This is very much a red environment, right? Like this is a Chiefs crowd. So yeah, I mean, I think the crowd could be a factor, and I am expecting the Chiefs to pull this out, but I think it's gonna be close, and I think it's gonna be a one-score game.
So, Zach, last one from me, and we'll send you off. Did you get to the barbecue? Does the stadium at Arrowhead provide you some barbecue, or has the ill feeling in your stomach made you miss the Kansas City barbecue?
So the national anthem is about to play. So no, but I did not have
this is a
barbecue.
dream for me, for
Yeah.
Zach to be.
So I got to get going.
This
here.
is perfect. This is a dream. We'll let you go, Zach, but please stay on. Stand up. Let's. Oh, that is perfect. That is, I mean, of all the things that can make him uncomfortable,
That might be the
that
king.
is pretty much as good as it gets.
Oh, that is.
Oh, that's
I think that's a good sign
fantastic.
for the birds.
I think so.
Is that one of the most uncomfortable you've ever seen, Zach?
Yes.
Then I think that's a
And
great
I've
sign.
seen him
for
very uncomfortable. That's pretty good. I mean, in this
I was
place
like, why
of
is
work,
he standing up? I'm just asking him about barbecue.
Fantastic. Oh, that's great. I'm excited to get into that in the post game and tomorrow. That could be our entire week of content. This is a Super Bowl rematch. It's the two best teams in football playing against each other, and this is, and to me, A1. Fantastic stuff.
Murders, sex crimes, wet balls. We kind of covered it all there with Zach in like a 10-minute period.
I mean, the guy's a
pro.
a hardcore pro, a seasoned journalist, no doubt. All right, Jamie. Speaking of hardcore pros, I mean, the best bets that you've had over the course of the season, just printing Lechuga all season long.
13 and 3.
Go ahead. 13 and 3.
I've cranked up
record.
the pressure on myself. I feel it. So I don't want to waste any time in case anybody wants to fade or trail me tonight. I am going to go with one, and this was before I knew the weather. DeAndre Swift over 59.5 rushing yards. I think the addition of Cam Jurgens coming back, I think wanting to control the clock and keep Patrick Mahomes off the field kind of led me down that path. So I'm going with the real Swifty over 59.5 yards. And then it just feels like this is an Andy Reid kind of knife in the side where the running back gets going in the passing game a little bit. So I'm going to go with Isaiah Pacheco from Rutgers University over 15.5 receiving yards.
I think that's a good one.
So
I mean, there's going to be a play where a running back pops. I think.
Yes,
you're right. Yeah. Could be, maybe it's McKinnon. And, and if you get a bad
which
beat,
I fear he's typically the guy that would kill you. But I'm going with Pacheco tonight, and big running back bet night for me.
All right, I like that. I'm going to go with one that I have sort of gone with before. I'm looking at like an extra little plus for DeVonta Smith. 70-plus receiving yards feels extremely attainable to me. Now, this was before I knew about the rain, so if this turns into like a real mutter of a game, then maybe this looks silly. But with no Dallas Goedert, my expectation is that the guy who benefits the most from that is DeVonta Smith. I think he's getting the majority of those targets. I think he is an awesome player, and I think he's
great.
Make use of those targets. And I think that on a big stage, maybe DeVonta has a big play or two.
Like a week or two ago, he dropped a routine ball, and we were like,
"Is that Jets game?"
We were like, "What the hell was that?"
You know things are going wrong when DeVonta Smith is dropping.
Like that guy is good.
And then my other one, James Bradberry, over 3.5 tackles plus assists. Now, I'm this one is kind of dumb, but I still kind of think he's going to be involved in the Kelce coverage plan. And I also think that he's like let up some receptions. And so I think he's going to be involved both in run support and as a guy tackling the person who caught the pass. So I'm taking James Bradberry, at least 4 tackles or assists.
I like that because he's probably going to get picked on. I mean, I'd pick on him.
You would think
from what I'd seen, through these 9 weeks.
I would pick on him, but I would also still rather pick on the linebackers. And Kevin Byard.
Yeah. But if you're throwing to the outside, it's, good chance I'm going to Bradberry over Slay. I think Slay's having a good year.
I think he's having a solid year.
A solid year.
Yeah,
Okay, I'd agree there.
It's also just that the Eagles' run defense is so good that teams are throwing on them even more than they did a year
I was going to say, a lot of people are making a big deal about how bad the secondary is. I don't think it's as bad as teams just can't run the ball, so they have to throw. I think that makes a lot of sense.
All right, are you ready to go on the record with your final prediction?
Yeah, I'm ready to fire. I am going to go Philadelphia Eagles 27, Kansas City Chiefs 23. I think they're going to hold. Yeah, I felt it all week. I haven't swayed from it. I think the Eagles are slightly a better team. That does not mean Jalen Hurts is better than Patrick Mahomes or anything crazy. I just think they're slightly a better team, and I think they're finally going to beat Andy Reid. I understand Arrowhead's a tough place to play. I understand this defense is good, and it's Patrick Mahomes. But, yes, I have the Eagles winning. And I just told you guys before the show, anytime you pick the Eagles in a tough, steel-on-steel matchup, you just feel like a homer.
Yeah, it
so
feels a
I
little
feel
dirty,
like a homer saying it, but I've genuinely felt it every day this week that they were going to pull it off.
I have felt every day this week that the Chiefs were going to win this game.
And that's completely fair.
The Andy Reid off the bye thing,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a real thing.
Is he only at one loss still after all these years?
I think it's more than that, but
Okay.
it's something
It's like
crazy.
2 or 3, yeah.
And there are holes in this defense that he can pick apart. And I think that for an offense that has struggled a little bit, to have that reset with Andy Reid at the helm is a little bit scary.
Yeah.
They're playing at home, as Zach talked about. This is a big home field advantage. They've got the best quarterback, in my opinion, who's ever lived. It's hard to bet against that.
Yeah.
And then today, I sort of woke up and sort of changed my mind a little bit.
Wow.
I don't know. I feel like there's this is very silly, but I feel like there's a bit of an imbalance of motivation in this game. I think it does mean more to the Eagles than it does to the Chiefs. I think it means more to like Jalen Hurts. I think it means more to Nick Sirianni. I think there may be some things that they've been holding in their sleeves for this occasion. And I think there's going to be an opportunity in this game for my call here is the reversal of the Super Bowl, where the Eagles are going to be the one who have the ball up like 3 points with 4 minutes left. This thing that they could not get done against the Cowboys a week ago. And they're able to run the ball and salt it away.
Nice little 6-minute drive
and hold on to the
it.
ball. Yes, and never give it back to Patrick Mahomes. I'm flipping. I'm taking the Eagles 24-21.
All right, so we're in the same area. I mean, this Chiefs
both
offense,
dirty homers, yeah.
Yeah, this Chiefs offense is not like I think they put up 41 once. Other than that, they're like pretty much in the low 20s to high 20s. Like, this is not like the beat you to death Chiefs offense of the past.
I think this is the tomorrow. The storyline is Jalen Hurts is the MVP, and then we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. My thought right now is they're going to win this game and then maybe come down a little bit after that.
He is the MVP of the NFL through these weeks if he wins tonight.
I think that's probably fair.
I think this kind of decides the MVP. There's a couple other guys you can make cases
national
for.
Game. This is the on the entire NFL schedule, like the game that everybody had circled. Right?
Oh, there's a reason they put these teams, as you said, after the bye. At the midway point of the season. This is the marquee matchup of the year.
All right. Well, that'll do it for the PHLY Eagles pregame show. Enjoy the game, everybody. We'll talk to you afterwards, right here on PHLY.